Hi everybody, here to paint another TJ Hooker piece. Slightly obsessed by TJ Hooker at the moment. Been watching a lot of it. I love it. I think it's great. Shatner is brilliant. I can't speak highly enough of the whole show. It's fantastic. Now this is a voiceover. I did record. I thought I recorded audio for this video. Turns out it didn't record the audio. It just recorded the pictures. So at top right, where you normally got the my face cam, I've covered that up so you don't see my lips not moving with this sound, and you've got my reference photo instead. I did consider lip syncing it at one point and doing some awful dubbing. I thought that would have been great, but it would have also been too much work. What's that? The president's dead? I don't believe it. So, excuse me. So, yes, I've gone for voiceover instead. Um, because I don't want silence, and to get over an hour's worth of lo-fi beats is quite a task. So you've got me just waffling on. There will be moments of just quiet as well. So what I'm doing here is I'm starting off with a watercolor base, and this is gonna be it's the start of my image. I will then scan this and import it into Procreate and then work on it digitally in the iPad. I did this the other day with a Barry Gibb portrait. It turned out really well. So, I've got to try this again. Let's get it on camera, see what I can do. And now, because this is a voiceover, I know how this turns out. I'm really pleased with it. So it's worth staying to the end. And you can always put it on like, was it 1.5 speed, double speed? I don't know. Try that. Or just fast forward, skip to the end. But please don't watch it all if you're interested. So yeah, look at that texture on that hair. That's it, I'm pointing it out there. That's really good, that. I mean, to be honest, it soon disappears when I'm working on it digitally. But that's really good. So this I'm working on that car in the background. You know what car that is? No idea. So I watched an episode of Hooker last night. Season 1, episode 5, The Witness. And it was about a woman witnesses, funnily enough, a murder. Initially, she doesn't come forward to the police because she saw the killer. She won't testify. Her boyfriend, who's also her boss, doesn't want her to testify because he's married, and there'd be questions as to, well, what was he doing with her in the first place? So eventually, Bucky gets her to testify. He does this by lying to her, by saying, "Don't worry, you won't have to face the killer," which is a complete lie. She does. She has to. He keeps drip feeding her on. Oh, you just need to do this. Oh, you just need to go to a hearing. Uh, and then to persuade her to go to this hearing, not only has he lied to her initially, he he starts coming on to her and takes her out on a date and tries to use the Shatner charm to persuade her to testify. She nearly gets killed. He's not bothered. Which is kind of what I like about TJ Hooker. He kind of does have a heart, but there's a proper element of Dirty Harry in him. He rarely plays by the rules, or he tries to play by the rules, but there's always a limit where he'll just go like, "Oh, fuck this, doing it my way," which is fun, isn't it? It's great in cop shows now. We love the rebel cop who takes the law into his own hands. It's it feeds into so many kind of fantasies when you see people being robbed on the news and that. You always hear people say, "Oh, what I'd do if I got hold of them." Of course, for most people, what you do if you got hold of them would be go to the police. You think you'd be like, "Oh, I could, no problem. I could beat them up. I could easily. They deserve death. They don't. No one does." That's a whole other story. Let's not get too deep. um, but yeah, Hooker is a proper rebel, and I love a rebel cop. This is why I like the Italian crime films. Rizzo O'Malley, he's Inspector Tanzi. That character, he's the proper rebel cop as well. Always taking the law in his own hands, ignoring the bosses, going against all orders. It's great fun, though. It's great fun. So here we're doing Shatner's uniform. Do remember painting this thinking it looks like he's wearing a poncho at the moment. It makes sense later on. I change it as well actually digitally. It's a little bit too big. But yeah, so this is basically a lot of painting, dabbing, painting, dabbing. The reason I kind of do that there is to create texture. Look at that again, it's great. It makes it interesting to look at. Even if a lot of it gets covered up eventually with the digital work. Makes it really interesting. You may have noticed I've put pencil marks here for Shatner's facial features. I wanted to get it in proportion properly. I did that literally by, I'm not gonna lie, I traced his features out, but as you can see, I didn't. It was hardly a tracing. It's just basically getting stuff in the right place. There's nothing wrong with tracing. I think it's fairly clear here that there's still an artistic process going on. This background I found difficult because it needs to be slightly abstract. I mean, it's not in the photo. Certainly, the car at the back, you can see the car directly behind him. You don't notice it at first. It's obscured by the trees and it's kind of dark. But the photograph's got the benefit of things being in Shatner being in focus and everything else being slightly out of focus. And kind of hard to do that when you're painting. It is for me anyway. It's possible. It's certainly possible with oil colours, oil paints, but I find it quite difficult to do it in watercolour. So I solved that problem later on anyway. More dabbing, blotting, dabbing, they call it. Watching my hand then, didn't know where I was going next. Seen that in a few of my videos. It kind of hovers around over the paper like a fly trying to work out where to land. Very interesting watching yourself paints. I'm not sure I actually learn anything, but I see a lot of funny little quirks. Always going to the paints and mix a bit more water, mix a bit more water, just back and forth. Like I can't decide when it's ready. Oh, there we see. So that was finished. So now we've moved to the iPad. I've scanned it, as you can see. There it all is. You've got two reference pictures now because I'm using one obviously while I'm working. And I think I'm going to be doing his face first. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just roughing it in here. Even though I've got the lines there, I'm still not sure exactly how it's going to be. And I just wanted to, I think, draw it like this to just kind of have a little bit of a first run at drawing the face and thinking, yeah, this is what I'll do here. Right, yeah, I've got this, that goes there. Just that kind of little practice from which, as you've seen in a lot of my videos, I don't do that much. I just kind of jump in and see where I end up. And it's great fun working like that. Um, not always satisfied with the end result. I'm usually more satisfied with the process than the finished picture. And so for this video, I did want a finished picture that I felt I'd given some time and attention to, which is why this video is over an hour long. So still working away. What I find interesting about this portrait, even though I put the kind of giving it the right proportions, there's a kind of otherness about it. Doesn't entirely capture the face perfectly. You catch the expression, I think, and you can't tell it's Shatner, but he also really reminds me of another American actor called Cameron Mitchell, who I'm betting was in T.J. Hooker at some point. He was that kind of actor who would be in all those sort of things. I'm going to find out. I've got my iPad here, so let's have a look. Cameron Mitchell was famous for being in High Chaparral. He was probably my favourite guy in High Chaparral. He played Buck Cannon. Buck Cannon! I saw him recently in a film called Toolbox Murders, which is quite a grim little film. Grubby. Grubby's a good word for it. Um, and quite a bizarre film. Quite bizarre. Let's have a look. Let's see. There's a film. He's in '88. Memorial Valley Massacre. I want to see that. Deadly Prey, Rage to Kill, Hollywood Cop, Night Force, From a Whisper to a Scream. These are all amazing, aren't they? Okay, we get into his TV stuff. He was in Magnum PI. Magnum was 81. That started before Hooker. I didn't know that. He was in Knight Rider. Hardcastle and McCormick. That was a kind of, I think it was a cop show. They had a cool car in that. In The Fall Guy. Fantastic. Murder She Wrote. Was he in? He wasn't in TJ Hooker. There we go. But yeah, Cameron Mitchell is one of those guys who pops up on loads of TV shows in America. Speaking of which, last night, the episode I watched, The Witness, there was an actor who played the bad guy who was a great American character actor. Still is. He's still around. And that was a guy called, let me find him, Jonathan Banks. If you're not sure who Jonathan Banks is, he played the Weasley little baddie in Beverly Hills Cop, who right early on in the film kills Eddie Murphy's friend, just shoots him in the head. Quite grim, actually, quite a shock when it happens. He was also, I believe, he was in Breaking Bad. He played Mike Ehrmantraut. Now I've never seen that, but he's in 28 episodes, so obviously one of the main characters. Um, Jonathan Banks, he's great. He's a great actor. Often played baddies, nasty little baddies, basically. He's in Stir Crazy. I did not know that. Stir Crazy is one of my favourite films. Let's see the TV shows he was in. I mean, he started acting in like 74, but when you get to the 80s, so what have we got? Let's have a look. Awesome films as well. He was in Beverly Hills Cop and 48 Hours. TJ Hooker, Hill Street Blues, 2 episodes in Hill Street Blues. Simon and Simon, I vaguely remember that one. Cagney and Lacey, Crazy Like a Fox, Hardcastle and McCormick. 3 times, 3 different people. Hunter works for me. It's great. It's what I call a him off, where you'll be watching a show and you'll see them and you just go, oh, that's him off. It's him off that thing. He's one of them. I love that. You get it a lot, obviously in British TV as well. And I'm sure TV from all over the world. Some French guy might be watching the show and say, oh, it is him. Zut alors. Auditioning for Hello Hello next week. Is it still on? Anyway, so there I am. What we're doing. So I've started drawing his face properly. Now I know here I'm actually using a red pen, but I've set the blend mode on the layer to linear burn. Man, linear burn, dude, and it makes it darker. But I like it because when you go into some of the light areas, the red of the pen shows, so your pen changes colour slightly. Or did I do it in red? Can't tell actually because my colour is covered up by the reference photo at the top right. I certainly make it red at some point in this drawing. That texture on the watercolour, it's great, isn't it? That brush I'm using, I didn't do it in, did I do it in red? Maybe I did. That brush I'm using is it's a pencil actually. It's in Chromograph, which by True Grit Texture Supply Company. So now I'm just adding some risograph textures. Not sure who makes these brushes. I thought it was True Grit, and then I thought it was Retro Supply. I know it's not Retro Supply. maybe through Grit, but I can't find. I had a look in their shop and can't see any mention of Razor brushes, so I have no idea. I'm just using it to just rough it up slightly, give a little bit more shadow to build Shatner's face, give it a bit more 3D. You can see I'd already done that with the watercolour, but the watercolour was deliberately loose and slightly random as to where it went. Of course, because I'm not in camera on this, you're denied my wonderful costume changes in the 3 segments of this video. Oh, fantastic. If you've ever seen Queen's Hard Life video, that's what I started off in. The same what Freddie Mercury's wearing. Big red, the red leotard with all the eyes. Very fetching. And then in this section, I was dressed as Brian Blessed in Flash Gordon. You know, the Hawkman. Also looked very fetching. And then in the last segment of the video, I'm wearing my TJ Hooker police uniform. It's very tight. Ooh. And a wobbly line on the hair. I remember drawing this bit now and thinking this is where it started coming together. Just dropping that in because it really starts getting really graphic, doesn't it? Proper comic book style. I also remember, now I'm watching this, how long that background's gonna take me. I think I'll be fast forwarding through that. Oops. Do have the option of time lapsing some of this, but I don't know. Kind of like the idea of a 76, whatever it is, minute long video and see how many people actually watch it all. If I'm on YouTube, often I see a video that's more than 20 minutes. I'm like, oh, I'm not watching that. And I know a lot of mine are more than 20 minutes that's because I understand that not everyone is as impatient as I am, thank God. But for me, optimal length, 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Mind you, TJ Hooker show is like 49 minutes. All the hatching. You see how, all that painting I did for his hair is all being obliterated. What was the point of that? So if we had sound now, you'd hear that of the. I could add some. Oops, just sounds like this. Bit of ASMR. Mm. Dubbing the pen sounds. And Foley artist now. Tell you what can I tell you about TJ Hooker? Let's get Wikipedia up. Okay, started in '82, ran on ABC until 1985, and then had a further single season on CBS. Means nothing to me. 5 seasons that in those 3, 4 years. 91 episodes. They churned it out, didn't they? 91 episodes. In the first season, there's only 5 episodes. Wow. Season 1, 5 episodes. This was because it started mid-season. It was replacing something else. And then season 2 and 3, 22 episodes. Season 4, 23. And then the CBS season, 19 episodes. That is ridiculous. The quality must have dropped, right? Wow. I mean, maybe I'll find that box set. You can get it, box set. It's not cheap, but it's a lot of watching, isn't it? So who was in it? Well, we know Shatner was in it. Adrian Zmed played Vince Romano. He was Shatner's rookie partner. Uh, there was a girl in it in season 1 called April Clough. Uh, she did nothing, hardly anything in it. She was really poorly served by the writers, to be honest, because she was third in the credits. She's the third person you see in the opening credits, and it's like, well, what are you doing? I mean, she's there just to be a pretty face, which is a shame. Um, and as everyone will know, she was replaced by Heather Locklear, who all the boys seem to go for. I I've not watched any of the Heather Locklear episodes yet. That's season 2, but I've finished season 1 now, so we'll see them soon. I think she gets more to do. We got Richard Hurd, who's the captain, another classic American TV him off, and James Darren, who was a regular guy towards the end of second season. It says here he played Jim Corrigan. So background is, yeah, Hooker was playing close cop. His partner was killed. He decides to wage war on the criminals on the streets, the type of people who killed his partner. So he goes back on the streets as a uniform cop. Um, we just start killing people. That's the funny thing. He's waging war. I don't think he kills anyone. I'm not sure. I will find out the more I watch. Uh, Adrian's med, Vince Romano, is a rookie who Hooker's training in the pilot show. He kind of that's when he returns to uniform and starts training this pack of rookies. Not sure I've seen. Well, I've not seen the pilot. Maybe I need to watch that. Occasionally, you'll see Hooker's ex-wife, who he still has a good relationship with, but she's had enough of his career. He's always putting that first. And every episode is a whole fresh story. It doesn't have much of a soap opera element. Say something like Hill Street Blues had more of a soap opera element. You saw the cops' families more, and there were threads running through with those families, threads of stories and that. And although you see Hooker's ex-wife and his daughters sometimes, it's not really like soap opera as much as Hill Street Blues can be. Brilliant as Hill Street Blues was. I think I might have said this before in video, but I think Hill Street Blues really changed the landscape for American cop shows. Um, and if you fast forward, like if you say this is what '82, Hill Street Blues was close to then, might have been around then. '81, you go forward to like '91, you cop shows like Hooker are kind of on the way out, and you're getting more and more stuff like Hill Street Blues. When was The Wire? Let's have a look. So The Wire was 2002. So certainly 20 years on, and everything's like Hill Street Blues. I think The Wire is more. It's obviously it's different, but it's very much inspired by Hill Street Blues. I think just the style, the long form series. So yeah, but I love shows like this. Hooker, Magnum, I've said before. I think they were fantastic. I'd love to see more. Don't know if you could even do them anymore. I need to get back to the drawing. What am I doing there? So I'm using an eraser there and removing the black to get the light colours, and you're getting that blue texture showing through. Really like the way that texture's showing through as well. It's really nice that. And if I'd just used a white pen on that, it just wouldn't be the same. It's funny watching me draw and looking at. I'm looking at the reference picture now, thinking, "Oh, I didn't get that bit right." Doesn't matter, obviously, but it is interesting. It's like, why did I do that bit there? No, no, up a bit, down a bit. No, looking at this and thinking, I'm very much inspired by um, the old Looking magazine of the 70s and 80s, which was more of a comic, all about the British comic, all about television, and it would often have comic strips in with some of the famous characters from the time. So probably Dick Turpin would have been one, maybe the Sweeney. Um, got one, actually, where it is. But the covers were fantastic. Really, really, really fantastic portraits of two or three of the TV stars who were going to be in that. Sometimes they had like pop stars like ABBA. Adamant's definitely one. I've got a cover with Cliff Richard and Buck Rogers and Wilma. I don't know. I don't know why. They just throw anyone together who's in the magazine at the time. But he was a great artist, the guy who did most of them, um, called Arnaldo Puzzu, who did a lot of illustrations for film posters and stuff in Britain. Did a lot of Carry On film posters, and I'm a huge Carry On fan. Um, you can see you can buy some original cover arts. A Cliff Richard painting, done in acrylic on board, 620 quid. I looked at that and thought for a minute, should I start saving up? I mean, it's wonderful, but what else can you do with 620 quid? Kind of obscene. Well, for me, a man of limited means. I wonder if I make him an offer. Will he take 200? Anyway, it's really good. It's a really good painting. I'll try and remember. I will link to it. Even though it's nothing to do with this. Put it in the link. I'm going to forget now. So I'm drawing this badge. I hated what I was doing there. I keep seeing a face. I see the face in Hooker's badge as well as what I'm drawing, but it's too it's too badge-like. It's really not right, and I keep struggling there and trying it. Is that right? Is that right? No, so I've decided. See, so what I decided to do is get rid of all that. No, tell you what I do first. So I'm thinking, well, if I blur this, is that gonna make it a bit less distinct? But it that digital blurring effect doesn't sit well with everything else that I've done. And I want my line work not to look digital. So the way I'm working, I feel like I need to work in a digital medium, but and I don't want the lines to look digital. I'll use some digital funky stuff later on, and I do in terms of the blending mode of the layers I'm working on, but this needed to look hand drawn. So what I'm doing now is instead of drawing the black and the dark lines in, I've gone back to the eraser I was using for the badges and stuff on like his shoulders. And I'm just working away at it. So I'm like carving it away really. But I'm trying to be really loose so that there's less of a face thing going on. I mean, tough in it. Look at Hooker's badge. That's a smiley face with some big eyebrows. It really is. Is it the guy who does he play Ben Stiller's dad in American Pie? Is that him? Eugene Levy. He's got more than the hint of Eugene Levy about him. But I mean, that looks miles better than what I was first doing. So I think I'm almost done with Shatner. I'm adding some very subtle highlights on his shoulders. So I'll have a look at the finished piece, see if it actually made a difference. It does make a little bit of a difference. Not a lot, though. That bit I'm doing now from the shows. Keep looking at that Cliff Richard art. We just had a pay rise offer recently. Now often they give us a lump sum, and we got a bit sick of that because it's often we'll give you a 1% pay rise and a lump sum of X hundred quid. For me, it's not much. It's usually like 200 quid, which is still a lot to some people. Um, I work part time. A lot of my colleagues got much more than that. Um, so this year we're like, we do not want a lump sum. We're not having it. And when the pay offer came through, there was no lump sum. There was actually a reasonable pay rise at last. Trouble is, if I'd have got a lump sum, I could have put it towards the Cliff Richard painting. Because that's the thing with a lump sum. You just go and spend it. Oh, I've been given an extra 200-300 quid. I'll go and treat myself. So the 1 year I realised that a lump sum would be great. Can't have it. Not that my wife would really let me have a framed Cliff Richard painting in the house. Certainly not downstairs. See, I'm looking around the studio and I've just spotted space for it. Crowdfunder. Pay my own, Knell. Maybe that's what I'll do next. A funky combination of watercolour and digital arts to make a fantastic portrait of Sir Cliff Richard in his 70s pomp. So I'm working away there at the car. You can see, I think, when I'm working on this background, I'm I'm indecisive. I'm not sure what I'm doing, which is fine. That's part of art is just trying things until they work, and that's the beauty with digital, and it's easier to do that. Um, I'd be interested to try it in a totally analog situation. Say like Frank Auerbach did with his portraits, you know, paint in one sitting in an afternoon and then just scrape it all off, start again, scrape it off, start again, paint over it, start again until he's happy with it. Be interesting to do that. And I've done this kind of where I got this blotting technique for the watercolours actually. I've done a couple of portraits where I've done that thing and paint it, blot it, and keep going until I get where I want to be. And it works quite well. It's quite effective. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. One thing I often forget, and you may not think this seen some of the stuff I paint, uh, it's all right if it doesn't work. They're not all going to work. I think working on video sometimes makes you think it's got to work. And if you look at Bob Ross, he would make 3 paintings for that show, for one episode. The beard a run through painting first as he's like working it out. And then two more. I don't know why there were two more after that. I think there maybe one for the show and then one afterwards. Maybe that was a safety one in case the filming didn't work out for the second one. I don't know. But he definitely had a run through first. He never painted TJ Hooker though, did he? Bet he watched TJ Hooker. Do you ever think that? I get sometimes look at like people in from history, recent history, modern history, and think, he heard Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. I think when someone died, let's see, who died in, say, like 1980, which means they would have been around in 78 for Don't Stop Me Now. So they would have heard it. So Cecil Beaton, English photographer, he was very popular in Hollywood. He heard Don't Stop Me Now, probably. Jimmy Durante probably heard Don't Stop Me Now. Have you ever had switch the radio on? It's just me. I think it's really funny, really strange. Dixie Dean, Everton football player, a legendary football player. He probably heard Don't Stop Me Now. You're right for punk. heard Anarchy in the UK. It's just that thing of eras crossing over. Find fascinating. The great one, uh, which was two eras meeting, two people from different eras meeting and becoming friends. Is Groucho Marx and Alice Cooper. I think that's fantastic. And I know Alice Cooper used to play golf with Ronnie Corbett as well. That's so funny. Imagine bumping into them two on the course. I don't know. I don't know. Where was I? I don't know where I was. Still doing that background. Truth be told, I did not enjoy doing this background. I'm really glad I persevered with it, but I didn't enjoy it. What I did, there's another segment after this. And between this segment and the next segment, I went and had something to eat. And all the while that I was eating, I was thinking about what I was going to do. I think it's important sometimes to take a little bit of a break from your work and just mull it over. I went out for a little walk as well. Sun was shining, a bit chilly still, it was winter sun. But I went out for a walk and you start solving problems in your head, little artistic problems. And when you get back, it's suddenly easy. It's clear you know what you need to do. Can't recommend walking enough. So at this stage, you're watching me not totally sure what I'm doing. I'm getting it together though, I can see. But I wasn't totally happy with what I wasn't happy with what I was coming up with, but I had no better ideas at the time. So you take your first good idea and you just go with it. So that's what I was doing there. Also helpful, knowing it's digital, you can change things. Now, there is a point where, even with digital, you go too far forward to turn back. Particularly if, if I exited Procreate there, come back into it, the undo feature's gone. It doesn't remember what you've just done the minute you close the program. So once I'd gone out for my walk, there was no going back from what I'd done, unless I deleted stuff, or unless I did what I ended up doing, which you'll see in the next segment. I did try blurring the background. I'm not sure if that's in the video or not. We'll see. If I did, it's going to be in this part of the video. Part 2. Well, I'll put chapters in. I often do chapters in my videos, so there's no point. You're getting chapters this time. So if you're bored of this, just skip to the next chapter now. You'll see what I did. But if you do skip, you might miss something. I might say something really funny. One thing I was worried about when I started this video, I knew it was going to be a long one. Didn't know if I had enough hard drive space. I'm just thinking now as I'm recording this, I still don't know. And maybe I should start utilising my external drive, which is much bigger than the internal one. Just for peace of mind. Yes, you can see here. What am I doing now? Oh, I'm colouring that in. Look at me, I'm not sure about it, am I? Can't decide. Do I stay with that? Stick with it. I think I've decided there. Look, you see that red coming through now? That's what I was talking about earlier on. We've forgotten about it now, I'm sure. But I think that red shows through. It makes it really interesting. Now what am I doing? Right, I'm blurring that car. Is this where I try and blur it? And I think, yeah, no. Oh no, cutting and pasting. Why did I do that? No idea. Maybe I was making the lines a little less dark. Must have been. I think this is often why I don't do many backgrounds in my portraits. They're fucking boring. Do you want to draw William Shatner? Of course, the thing is that it's background that often really makes it, gives it a completeness that just a drawing of Shatner on his own wouldn't have. I like what I did there. Use that red again. Actually, I'm looking at that now. The way I've zoomed out, I'm deciding whether it needs any more, and I've just decided it does. Oh, for God's sake, come on. Are you still with me? I can only apologise. It's worth it though, isn't it? Putting this work in, it kind of was worth the effort. I think I've decided that. Yeah. So then I went away. You can see now I've changed the reference photo, so we've got the logo in. I put a couple of guiding lines in, and this is what I did. So I went away. Look at that. Whoa. I've I've deviated from the brief now. I'm not sticking with that blue background. I darkened the black background to push Hooker to the front a bit more, and then I added those lines. Again, that was the blend mode was linear burn, and I just think well, I love it, basically. Really pleased with that, how it all fits together and makes Shatner the focus of the painting. That will become clear later on. That's another watercolour um, painted piece of paper. Camera's blowing it out a bit, really. I need some proper daytime lights, but not much room for them. I can afford some, but not much room for them. So who knows if I'll get some or not. Should do, really, but we'll see. Um, but yeah, that's going to provide the yellow of the text, which is what I'm going to do next. So create a separate layer for text, and I'm going to hand draw it. Uh, I could have typed it in, but I didn't want any clean lines, basically. Wanting it to look hand drawn. I'm drawing it in yellow, so it's because my camera's blowing it out slightly, you're not going to see it perfectly. Sorry about that. And I struggled with placement. I didn't want to go over Hooker's eye. I think I did in the end, actually. Do I go under it? No. Yeah, I do go under it rather than over it. I'm not the greatest at proper text work, graphic design sort of work. I wanted to be a graphic designer when I was at school. I went to college after school 2 years and did an art and design course. And the second year, you got to choose what discipline you wanted to work in for the second year. You had an option of textiles, 3D design, or graphic design. I picked graphic design, but they wouldn't let me do it. Basically, there were too many people wanting to do graphic design because it was a cool, trendy thing. Um, and they were all better than me. And to be fair, I wasn't. I wasn't that good. I also, to be honest, by that point, I wasn't interested. Uh, I was becoming a really good bass player. And that was all I was bothered about, really. Pop music, although back then it was more rock music. But I do remember sitting in the first year there with my headphones on, growing long hair, all denim. But on my Walkman, I had Cliff Richard and Fleetwood Mac and the Four Tops on. I listened to other stuff. I listened to Megadeth as well, and some really heavy stuff. But yeah, that pop music always caught me. And see, Cliff Richard, mentioned Cliff Richard again. I was a secret fan of Cliff Richard back then. Now I'm a bit more. I'm less ashamed. He's hit some amazing songs. He had a great team working with him, providing him with all those songs, has to be said. And I still insist he was one of the great voices of British pop music. Often gets forgotten. What a fantastic singer. His voice has gone a bit now. He is, in his 80s. Although he still has a certain element of kind of muscle memory. You can hear him, he knows what he's doing, and he's adjusted to his new old voice pretty well. But you hear him like 1979, and we don't talk anymore. Oops. and his voice is fantastic. Yeah, forget it, Darren. Just colour it in. I think I think I got there in the end with this one. I think I'll just colour this bit in, and now I'll drop it in again, and that'll fix it, won't it? No. Oh, forget it. There's basically, when you do that, if there's any kind of gap in that shape that you're filling, it's gonna leak out of it and fill the whole page. And when you're using a pencil style brush, there are naturally like missing pixels, as it were, to simulate grain and the toothiness of what a pencil would look like on paper. So you've got to find that little gap before you can fill it. Did that though. Most of them work really well. I think it was just that letter R. Oh, and the K. I spotted where the K was. I think that was that it. No, there's another bit there. Come on. Let's try that. There we go. That'll do it. Oh, yes. Now, what I'm going to do next with this, once I've sorted all that out, is you saw that piece of yellow painted paper I had earlier. I basically apply that paper to this text as a mask. And the only bits of the paper that will show are the bits that where the text is, basically. Call it a clipping mask. And what it means is you've got the yellow text, but there's a little bit of texture in it as well. You'll see at the end of this video, you're going to have the full image where you will hopefully, especially if you're watching on a big screen, you'll see the effect that text has. Not the text, the texture in this paper. And watch it now. You see, I'm going to change this to a clipping mask. And one little tap. Now I'm just explaining it there. So, oh, there we go. And again, you can just see a bit there. It's hard to make out because of the brightness of that pale colour. And I'm just tidying stuff up. This is almost done. What I've got to come next is just go around the text in a dark outline. Which, as it turns out, is I wasn't paying much attention. It is, the outline is there on the original anyway. And it just helps separate the text from the background image. Interesting as well that I spent all that time drawing that image. But the real focal point of the finished thing is the text. On what I'm explaining there. Those colours, that reds and blues and purples. Huge fan of those colours. And those hatched lines, the rough hatched lines, they work really well. You obviously artists who are always like, well, I wasn't happy with that bit. That was not. I'm like, look at that, it's great. I did that. Oh, what am I pointing at? Although I was saying I have no room for a light to my right hand side because there's a window there, and my desk is right up to the window. I've thought about moving stuff around, but I'm really not worked out how it would all fit together. Um, I just need another room. I need a YouTube studio. So here we go now. Now I'm doing the outline. This is where it's like, yes, there it is. Ties it all together. That, and I'm pleased I went with hand drawn text. It gives it a proper comic book feel. I must say I'm a little sleepy. I got up at 5:20 this morning, and I was at my desk in the office. This isn't home office. This is get in the car and drive office. It's at my desk at 6:20. And so the reason I got up so early, I woke up 5:20. I thought, oh well, woke up at 5, and by 20 past, I just get up. If I get up, go into work, finish earlier, the sooner I finish, the sooner I can come home and put this video together. So I was really excited coming home, switched the laptop on, dragged all my files into my editing software, and then I was like, there's no sound going on. I was plugging headphones in, changing the settings, looking at the videos in different players. It's like, no, I didn't record any of the audio. And I spent about the next 4 hours sulking. Not really bad sulking, but just thinking, oh, God's sake. Well, then, that time you spend sulking, you're also working it out. Well, can I rescue this? Or is it a total goner? And maybe it wasn't a total goner. I think I've rescued it. Maybe the 3 people who get to the end of this can let me know in the comments. Looking good, it's nearly done. I love it when you get to this bit. It's like, I just got to do the E and the R, and I think it's finished. Often you'll get to that stage. You go, yeah, 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 yeah. You'll share it online. And then and see you've missed something. In this case, though, no, it was all good. The only thing I missed was in the recording of the thing, but the drawing was complete. There we go. Well, if you're still here and you watched it all the way to this point without skipping or fast forwarding, well done. Thank you very much. And if you've just been skipping the odd bit even there and you're still here, again, thank you. Very pleased with it. So I should probably sing a bit of theme tune, shouldn't I? Eh?